What's up, Rasmanites? You got the Rasman here, Freaky.com and YouTube with your WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review. Today, on the Rasman's Reality. First match of the night, WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match. When I saw this be the first match of the night, I thought, oh man, something weird is going to go down with the other chamber. And that's what we should have seen, but I'll get into that later on. In the interest of time and not wanting this video to get too long, I'm not going to go over each elimination in either chamber match. If you want that, you can look up the results for yourself. I'm just going to talk about key points in this match. CM Punk goes up to hit the Randy Savage-like elbow drop on to R-Truth, and he does it right in the face of Chris Jericho, building toward that feud. Then later on, as Chris Jericho hits the Codebreaker and pins Kofi Kingston, he then throws Kofi Kingston out of the ring, and after he throws Kofi out of the ring, CM Punk hits Chris Jericho on the side of the head with one of his swift kicks to the skull, and the momentum carries Jericho outside the ring, and he slams into a piece of equipment near the railing and quote-unquote knocks himself out. So Chris Jericho unable to continue, and the final fall of the match comes via the go to sleep on The Miz for the 1-2-3. So CM Punk is still your WWE champion after Chris Jericho is unable to compete. Now, I don't have a problem with this booking because you want Chris Jericho to look strong enough to be a credible challenger for WrestleMania. But like I said before on the radio show, I firmly did not believe, as big of a mark as I am, that Chris Jericho should have won the title at Chamber, because it makes much more sense for him to go after the championship at Mania, because he has more to prove than does CM Punk. The problem I have comes later in the night, which I'll get into. Next match, WWE Divas Championship on the line. Tamina Snuka falling short to Beth Phoenix. One of the better Divas matches in a long time. Tamina hits the Super 5 splash. Beth kicks out of it. Beth hits the Glam Slam, gets the 1-2-3, retains the title. Looks like we are going to get what we want, which is Beth versus Karma one-on-one. However, with the recent Tamina pushes, people are going to say I'm crazy, but don't discount the possibility of an of a Tamina, Beth, and Karma triple threat match for the Divas Championship. Next up is a segment with John Laurinaitis, where John Laurinaitis is making the case to become the joint general manager of both Raw and SmackDown, and all the guys that everybody was hoping might replace either Santino Marella and or the Great Khali in the SmackDown Chamber match come out. Alberto Del Rio, Mark Henry, and Christian. So, in my opinion, that segment was nothing more than to further a storyline that looked like it's going to happen between John Laurinaitis and Theodore Long for control of WWE. As far as the general managers go, which I'm not quite sure I'm sold on that because I'm sick to death of Jay Long, and the less of him on my TV the better, but I guess you can't just oust Jay Long without an explanation, so I'll have to wait and see where that goes. But anyway, point is, all three guys that everybody thought might replace SmackDown Chamber participants showed up in this segment, and that is key. Because the World Heavyweight Championship match, believe it or not, was next on the card. And this is where the major problems come in. Because with what you did to Chris Jericho, yes, Chris Jericho should still have something to prove to CM Punk going into WrestleMania. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I know that it would have been a huge problem because Sheamus is your Royal Rumble winner, and the Royal Rumble winner is supposed to get a guaranteed championship match at Mania. But here is the thing. You can have some kind of storyline reason for Sheamus to cash in early and have it work, because WWE missed a huge opportunity with Chris Jericho technically not being eliminated in the WWE Championship match. He could have forced the hand of Jay Long, or better yet, since John Laurinaitis is the heel and trying to get more power, John Laurinaitis could have used his power to give Chris Jericho one of those two spots that were filled by pointless guys in Khali and Santino in the SmackDown Chamber, have Chris Jericho become World Heavyweight Champion once again, and have an undisputed championship match at Mania. I called for it, a triple threat match between CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan. That would be a true best in the world match. And they had a beautiful opportunity to set it up storyline wise last night, and they didn't do it. As far as how the SmackDown Chamber actually went, that is where the bigger problem comes into play. Because yes, Daniel Bryan retains, as he should have, to not lose all the momentum he has built. But in my opinion, if you're going to give anybody else momentum out of that match, it should have been either Cody Rhodes or Wade Barrett. I still stand fast that with all the building of the Intercontinental title, they do need to have the Intercontinental title on the line at Mania. That is true. So I can understand why you don't give it to Rhodes in that situation. But why did they make Wade Barrett look so weak? Because it comes down, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, the final two men in the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber match were Santino Marella and Daniel Bryan. How are you going to make Daniel Bryan look that weak? I know that he's supposed to be a cowardly heel. I get that. And he plays the cowardly heel better than anybody I've ever seen. But for goodness sake, throw some originality in there. Don't make it Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, which after the match we saw Sheamus come out and confront Daniel Bryan and lay him out. So he pretty much confirmed that he's going after the world title, which everybody already knew because of the Chris Jericho CM Punk situation. Let that match become a triple threat match, because Wade Barrett either wins the world title or makes a strong enough case that he should get a world title match. Having Santino be the guy that Daniel Bryan makes tap out makes Daniel Bryan look like a wet paper bag champion. This is the World Heavyweight Championship, not the Jobber Championship. This was the most ridiculous world title finish I've ever seen, and it comes on the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. You've got to be kidding me. And if that wasn't bad enough, everything I've already said makes you know what the final match is going to be. But before we can get to the final match, we have a pointless throwaway match, U.S. title match, between Jack Swagger and Justin Gabriel set up backstage. Just a pointless filler match. Jack Swagger retains. I hate filler matches. Matches that are booked on pay-per-view should be given longer time, or filler matches should make sense. Jack Swagger versus Justin Gabriel was neither. It made no sense, and it took away from one of the two championship matches. And in your main event, the ambulance match of John Cena and Kane, I can't understand why this was last on the card unless you didn't want to let people forget that John Cena is going to face The Rock and that John Cena has to look strong. But you didn't have to do it on the last match of the night. That being said, it was a really good match, really brutal match. Both men played off each other very well. Match ends with an FU off the top, an attitude adjustment, off the top of the ambulance for the 1, 2, 3. Not for the 1, 2, 3. See, I'm sometimes so frustrated, I'm messing up. But the match ends with an attitude adjustment off the top of the roof. John Cena throws Kane in the back of the ambulance for the victory. So I don't have a problem with John Cena looking strong, but I would have liked to see The Rock appear at Elimination Chamber last night to just say, okay, I'm here now, let's go. That didn't happen. And the other thing, like I said, the SmackDown Chamber, the World Heavyweight Championship, it just looks so weak. Unbelievably weak. And when the best spot of the night in that match is the Big Show tearing apart the pod to go after Daniel Bryan, it just shows you how much they ruined that match. So I give this pay-per-view only a 3 out of 5 stars, and that's being generous. It furthered all the storylines that it needed to. It closed all the storylines that it needed to, in a way, going into Mania. But World Heavyweight Champion looks way too weak. And the other thing was, no Zack Ryder. For as much as Zack Ryder's been in the middle of this Kane, John Cena thing, no Zack Ryder whatsoever, even no Eve whatsoever last night at Elimination Chamber. It was a bad pay-per-view. For this to be your go-home pay-per-view before the granddaddy of them all, it was a bad pay-per-view. And if it wasn't for this card that we already have advertised for Mania, I would be really feeling bad for Mania right now. Let me know what you thought in either comment box down below. Remember, there's no such thing as being too big of a geek. And this is reality according to the Razman. And Razman style is not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.